What's up guys, Nathan here, and one of the most common questions I get asked these days is how do you start winning at poker consistently, especially if you have not had the success that you had hoped for yet at the poker tables. Today I'm going to give you 5 simple tips that you can start employing right away to hopefully start getting you much better results at the poker tables as quickly as possible. Alright, so my first tip is to get a consistent playing schedule. You know, one of the biggest problems that I find with a lot of my students especially is they kind of just jump all over the place in terms of when they actually play the game. You know, some weekends maybe they've got something with friends going on the weekend, you know, there's a new Netflix show, something like that. There's always some sort of distraction, guys, and this is not the way to get consistent results in this game. In my experience, if you want to get real results at the poker table, you need to set up a consistent playing schedule. You need to make this game a priority in your life, you know, not above your kids or, you know, your wife or anything like that, but, you know, high up there, you know. So I would suggest playing every single night if possible. I've talked about on this channel before, the year before I turned pro, I would come home from work every single night and just play for 3-4 hours. You know, obviously easier to do, you know, back then in my single days, but hopefully you guys get the point. I was not watching the latest TV show, Netflix show, playing video games, or whatever. Poker was absolutely a priority for me in my life in order to achieve my goals, in order to keep moving up the stakes, increasing my bankroll, increasing my knowledge, which I'm going to talk about in a second. If you guys know my story, after a year I was able to quit my job, and that was 15 years ago, and go pro and never look back. But bottom line, guys, the way I got there is by having a consistent playing schedule every single day if possible, and on the weekends you really should try to play as much as you possibly can if you don't have any prior commitments, because this is when the games are the best. This is when the recreational players are out playing. So often I would just try to play all day on weekends, and especially on Friday, Saturday nights, because that's when you get, you know, the inebriated maniacs sometimes out there at the poker tables, and you can really clean up. Alright, so my second tip to get you winning at poker consistently is another really, honestly, kind of straightforward one, but something that a lot of people overlook, which is to simply play in the games you enjoy. Guys, one of the biggest things that I always suggest to my students, particularly when they're just starting out in poker, is to play everything. Try out pot limit Omaha, try out no limit hold'em, try out stud games, try out six max, full ring, heads up, try out tournaments, try out cash games, try out Zoom if you play online poker. I think you guys get the point. Have a go at everything. Just play for a couple days, play for a couple weeks or something like that, so you get an idea of how that particular format works, if you enjoy playing that game or not. Bottom line, guys, everybody is built a little bit different. A lot of people are, you know, better suited for a 9-10 player table, for example, that more robotic kind of sit around waiting for the best hand. Some people like to play with 2 or 3 players where you're constantly in there bluffing a lot. So a lot of this can come down to just your individual personality, and also you'll find out which type of games that you excel at. Are you good at more of a stud-based game, or a pot limit Omaha game with 4 cards, no limit hold'em with 2 cards, or a limit structure, for example, as well? I forgot to mention that. Bottom line, guys, you need to find out what game works for you. People always ask me, oh, Nathan, what's the most profitable game? Guys, the most profitable game is the one that you're gonna play consistently because you enjoy it. You know, we just talked about setting a consistent playing schedule, and what is gonna get you in there playing consistently the most? It's going to be playing the game you enjoy the most, that you're excited, that you're motivated to learn and improve at and to play more. So guys, bottom line, do not play some game because you saw your favorite high stakes pro playing it online or on a YouTube video or Twitch or something like that. Try out all the games for yourself and find out which poker format you enjoy playing the most, because guys, that is going to get you motivated and hungry to get in there and, you know, play more and win more. Alright, so my third tip to start winning at poker consistently is to study 1 hour for every 1 hour that you play. And I specifically have this in place for beginners, people that are just starting out in the game, that are trying to find their way. Now, what do I mean by study? I'm talking about reviewing your hands away from the tables. If you play online poker, you can use a program like Poker Tracker. I'll have links to that in the description below. I've used it for over 10 years as a pro. You can go through your hands after your session and you can find out what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. You can look up specific scenarios and find out where your leaks are. You can study the other good players in your game. Don't study the bad players. And you can find out what they might be doing better than you. You can also watch YouTube videos just like this. I put them out every single week. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channels so you never miss my poker strategy videos here. You can also be reading poker books. I've written 3 of them myself. Once again, there'll be links to all of them in the description below. I think you guys get the idea. Video training courses, hire a coach. There's so many different ways to improve your poker game these days. If you really want to take your game to the next level, if you want to drastically improve your chances of moving up the stakes quickly, I would highly suggest that you take studying your game away from the table. And that also means, of course, learning and improving and learning new skills as seriously as you do playing the game. A lot of people these days, they do not study at all, which is utterly crazy to me, guys. It makes no sense. Guys, I often say, approach this game like a professional athlete or any kind of professional actor, musician, anybody who is a professional at what they do. They don't just show up on game day and expect to, score 40 points like LeBron every single time. Of course not. They're in their hours before they even arrive at the court, studying game film, shooting long hours, on practice days, after the practice. You guys understand what I'm talking about. You need to take your study and improvement of your game away from the tables just as seriously as you do playing at the tables. It is a completely amateur approach to just show up at the table and expect to win every single time. And the biggest reason why is because you're never learning from your mistakes. Guys, that's how we get better in this game, is by studying and improving our game away from the table so that we're constantly improving, constantly getting better, and ultimately getting better results at the poker tables. All right, so tip number 4 is to take bad beats in stride. Now, in my experience, this is one of the most difficult ones for a lot of beginner poker players in particular. They really struggle when they get several bad beats in a row, for example, and it gets them off their game, it gets them frustrated, tilted, sometimes even moving up to higher stakes, chasing losses and all this, which is a disaster, guys. So one of the biggest things that I always recommend is knowing what you signed up for in this game, guys. Understanding that every single time that you sit down to play poker, you should be prepared for an avalanche of bad beats to come your way, because honestly, it's going to happen most days, especially if you play a lot of poker like I do, multi-tabling online. You're gonna get so many bad beats in a row sometimes it will make your head spin. So guys, you need to be prepared for this. There's a lot of away from the table stuff that I've talked about in these videos and in my poker books before, such as meditation, proper diet, daily exercise, all that kind of stuff. But bottom line, guys, you need to take the mental side of the game, the emotional side of the game very seriously, because this is the #1 downfall of poker players that I have seen from having coached hundreds of people with the lower limits in particular. Tilt, getting emotional over bad beats is the #1 thing that holds people back. Don't let it happen to you, guys. You've worked so hard away from the table. We just talked about studying and improving. Don't let it all unravel in the moment because you get frustrated by a couple bad beats. Take this stuff seriously, guys, and you will have a lot more success at the poker tables. All right, so my final tip to get you guys quickly winning at the poker tables is going to go against everything that people believe these days and say, all the pros and the experts, and that is to try weird stuff, to be creative, to basically just be you at the poker tables. Everybody is trying to study some cookie cutter approach these days, GTO. They're studying solvers away from the table to show them exactly what percentage of the time to make a continuation bet with their ace queen and a 3-bet pot. Guys, this is just madness. you have got to develop your own play style at the poker table. You've got to be creative. You've got to try new stuff. You know, I've talked about before, you know, I came up in a time of poker around 2004, 2005 is when I was really just getting into the game. You know, there were no YouTube videos like this. There were no training courses. You know, there were no modern poker books. I had to literally learn from my own mistakes and create my own strategies to win at the poker tables myself. And I think that a lot of people these days, they're not doing that anymore. They're just trying to copy what some other pro has told them to do. You know, guys, as I mentioned in all three of my poker books, on my blog, and often in these videos, is I do think you should follow some of these strategies, but you need to be prepared to go off the script when it makes sense to you. If you don't think that what I'm saying in these videos makes any sense at all, then don't do it at all. Take your own approach in this game, guys. You know, check raise on the river when everybody else says that's a terrible play. Bottom line, guys, try new things. Find out what works for you. A lot of the strategies that I teach is stuff that I just discovered on my own over the years by just trying weird stuff. You know, let people say I play bad in the comments, or, you know, on Reddit or wherever they're talking. Who cares? Like, it doesn't matter, guys. The people that get ahead in this game, that truly get to the highest limit, they are creating their own strategies. They are the leaders in this game. They are not copying other people. They're not trying to find some secret recipe or cookie cutter approach that's going to, you know, if they just copy this little strategy, is going to make them win millions of dollars. Guys, the game of poker just does not work that way. So my final piece of advice for you is to just have fun. Try weird stuff. Even if everyone says it's bad, who cares? You try it out, you find out what works for you at the poker table, and I think you're going to have a lot more success. So guys, those are the top 5 tips that I have for you today to start winning more consistently at the poker table. But let me know what poker tips have helped you the most in the comments below. Do you agree with any of these 5 tips, or disagree with them, or you have something else? Let me know in the comments below. And also, like I said, make sure you subscribe to the channel here if you want to see more poker strategy videos like this, and also shove all in on that like button below if you found this one helpful. Finally, I will leave a copy of my free poker cheat sheet. That'll be the top link in the description below. You can read that in the afternoon. It'll give you my entire basic strategy to start quickly winning at the lower stakes games. And lastly, I'll leave another video that I made just last week right here that I think will help you guys out some more. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. This has been Nathan Williams with BlackRain79.com.